Guys, welcome to the Mainnet 2 update live stream. Great to see you all here. My name is Michael. I manage global growth, community, and marketing at Akash. Last week, we launched Mainnet 2, the world's first open source cloud. And today, 2 weeks later, we're super excited to share some updates and plans for the network. This will be a great opportunity for our speakers to introduce themselves. We'll start with Greg.
Hi, cool. Hey, my name is Greg. I'm the founder and junior programmer at Akash Network. Last week, 20% of my time I spent coding, 20% of the time I spent bugging people, and 60% of the time I spent tweeting about it. Super excited to host my friend, advisor, investor in Akash, Sunny Aggarwal. Sunny is one of the most curious, genuinely curious people I've met, and genuinely helpful people in crypto, and really excited to talk about his new venture, Osmosis, and the other things he's up to.
I'm Adam, co-founder CTO of Akash, also junior programmer from time to time, and yeah, just really happy to be talking with you all today and with Sunny, and share with you guys some of the things that have been happening with Mainnet 2, and also hear about Sunny's new project. Sunny's muted.
Yeah, sorry. Hey guys, my name is Sunny. I'm the co-founder of Sikka. I've been working in the Cosmos ecosystem for coming up to about almost 4 years now. So I started working at Tendermint, helped launch the Cosmos Hub, helped design Cosmos SDK, build Tendermint Core. And then now I'm working on a couple of new projects. I've run validators, including for Akash Network, and I'm working on a new project called Osmosis, which is an AMM platform for the Cosmos ecosystem. And just love learning as much as I can about blockchain from all different sides, and coming up with cool mechanism designs, and sharing ideas, and that's how I kind of got in touch with the Akash Network folks. And I'm really happy to be working with them.
Thanks for joining us, Sunny. We're really grateful for your time today. So just as always, we'll be starting off with a quick company update, and then we'll go into a fireside chat with Greg, Adam, and Sunny. And then we're going to open up the stream for a Q&A. So please ask all your burning questions. Be as thoughtful as you can in the chat box. We'll also be choosing 3 winners for our giveaway, 2 Kobo Tablet Pluses and a Ledger Nano X this time. And just make sure to enter into the giveaway. You have to do all of the following 3 things. You have to subscribe to our channel, you have to participate in the chat box, and you also have to enter your information in the form below. And as always, we're also going to be selecting the winners from our previous live stream. So let's just get right into it. Greg, do you want to start with some company updates?
Sure. It's been quite a week at Akash. I mean, we still have my fresh blockchain smell. It was an incredible update. We saw the blockchain upgrade within a matter of 2 hours. Really amazing validators made that happen. And as you know, it's a new project, and we didn't kind of expect the kind of adoption that we saw in the first week, and we are really super excited, as well as very thankful to our community. The first week we saw over 150 deployments happen on the network, and currently I believe around 27 or so are actively running. One of the exciting things is some of the users have gained or noticed 8x cost savings in comparison to Amazon Fargate. Of course, these cost savings are not linear. I mean, they vary by demand and supply. Since the demand was, as a new project, the demand was just picking up, we saw these incredible gains. It also gives you an insight as to when there's more supply, these gains could be even more. Realistically, our prediction was like 2x, but seeing 8x was a really cool thing. And we have about 53 active developers deploying stuff. And so really excited about that. I mean, we're doing comparison, other blockchain projects. We have Polkadot, which has about 420 active developers, and in since the time they launched, and Ethereum about 2,500 active developers, and us getting 53 in the first week is a good indication. And I'm pretty sure next week is going to be a double or more than that. Really excited about it. And so that's really on the adoption side of things. And we saw some interesting GMV numbers. The last measurement we took was around 60 AKT. And again, now they'll get lower because the cost savings as they increase the GMV is supposed to decrease, right? At least from if there's no volume or number of deployments. So we're going to see how interesting it's going to shape. We're not going to come into any sort of like prediction based on the early GMV numbers, as these could vary on a daily basis and could vary on a weekly basis because the volume is lower. But certainly very exciting to see the economic activity happening and us measuring that GMV, capturing the measurements using this GMV metric. So really exciting first week. And more importantly, we saw amazing different types of applications I'll be talking about that people are deploying on Akash, all the way from simple websites that are essentially unstoppable to complex node infrastructure, some multi-tier applications I'll be going into later. And to remind everyone, Akash is the world's first open source cloud. This is essentially the only decentralized cloud that comes close to what an Amazon or Google's or Microsoft's feel like. So we're really excited that getting these adoption numbers and getting this product in hands of people and actually see people using it is really, really a benchmark for us. And we had a surprise listing from Gate.io. We had no idea this was coming. It's really cool to see exchanges picking up our node and deploying themselves without having to need any help, because that also is a testament to our engineering and product teams. And as you know, Akash is a layer 1 blockchain. So that makes it harder in comparison to other blockchains like Ethereum for exchange integrations. It's really exciting to see exchanges picking up and running with the blockchain, as we launch, right? So that's amazing. And to celebrate the launch of Mainnet 2, we saw one of our favorite exchanges, BitMax, give away about $50,000 in AKT tokens. So you had a few lucky winners, and I think you have till March 22 to submit your entries, and the link will be pasted in the chat box if someone can do that about this competition. And we also released a 10.2 version with critical updates. As you know, launches are not exactly smooth. We noticed a few bugs here and there that we'll go into, and some critical, some aesthetic, but we pushed out a major release. Our engineering team has been relentless. Hats off to them to be working through pushing the mainnet as well as supporting the mainnet after launch. So I'm really proud and excited about this new release.
Thank you for that, Greg. Just want to say it's really incredible to see how global our community is. I'm just like watching the chat right now, and there's a dozen different locations that people are tuning in from. And just want to say thank you all from wherever you are in the world for joining us. Why don't we just step right into the fireside chat? We'll start off with kind of a more global question for you and Adam, Greg. Could you give me an overview of how the Mainnet 2 launch went, and what was the process like of updating?
Adam, you want to take that?
Yeah, sure. Let's see where to start. So the process is a bit more involved than a typical software service release update. Of course, it's a decentralized network. So a few weeks ago, we put out a proposal, or somebody from the community put out a proposal to adopt our recent upgrades to the network. Of course, there was a voting period, and the governance mechanism went through its process, and people approved it and wanted to see the new features. There was a time that we were synchronized to stop the chain, and a process for upgrading the chain to the new software. It's fun. It's a lot of people are involved, and everybody needs to synchronize at the same time, so it can be a little bit stressful just at that moment. But we were really prepared. The community was really on the ball, And thankfully we got the new network up and running very quickly. It was really exciting. So that was the first phase, updating the network, updating the blockchain. And with the new blockchain features, we of course support our cloud platform now. So then we got over that hurdle. The next hurdle was bringing our platform online. And that happened relatively quickly. And over the next week or so, we started getting more and more deployments onto the system, having more and more people come and use it. It's been a long couple of weeks for the development team, supporting people as best we can. But I'm really happy that it's out there. I've been using it myself. It's been really great to actually have this thing live and running and allowing people to use our cloud platform to host their services, and for me to host mine. It's been great.
Thanks, Adam. I know everybody's really appreciative of all the work that you and the dev team have putting in to getting this thing live, and we obviously really appreciate all the work that you've been doing. By all accounts, the network launch was really smooth, but just out of curiosity, were there any roadblocks that we had to overcome along the way?
Trying to think. It's all a bit of a blur. There's some, small little process issues that, we tell all of the validators stop at a particular time of day. But since people have their clocks might be off a little bit, or things might be just a little bit different. It's not everybody doesn't necessarily stop at the same exact block. So there is like one period of time where we kind of need to get together and be like, okay, what block is gonna be the one that we stop at? There's a spread of just a couple of blocks, and so that was a bit of a, that was really the only part that was unknown. Everything else was kind of went to plan, and even that part we knew about. It just there wasn't necessarily a script we can use. I personally uploaded like the wrong Genesis at one point, and had some sweats going on there, but otherwise things went really smoothly. We got the new network up quite quickly.
That's awesome.
Yeah, to comparison, right? Like the last two networks were really scary that did this update. The first one, obviously, being the Scapegoat, the Cosmos Hub, the grandfather. I mean, their update took they're humongous, right? And their update took 6 hours, and we were scared shitless. And most of the delay was coordination and not necessarily blockchain. And I guess in Cosmos's case, they were gigantic exchanges validating, so they have to go do the restart and whatnot at the same time. In Kawas's case, they had critical bugs. They actually halted the chain, so they had to relaunch. So we were walking into this kind of murky territory, and it's really fascinating to coordinate with people that we have no idea who these people are. And it's a permissionless network, so anybody can run a validator node, and everybody needs to sort of update whatnot. So it's definitely a surreal experience. I'm 25 years or so writing software, and it's significant time shipping distributed systems. We are used to this notion of having a lot of control in deployments, and just the control element going away is definitely an experience. You gotta be there. And of course, Sunny has been there. Sunny's probably honed in on this decentralized network launches so much more than Adam and I. But now we know a lot of things that gets better and better. So really, really exciting.
Great. And now that you bring that up, Greg, Sunny, you did participate in the upgrade. Maybe you could share some thoughts, having kind of gone through several upgrades in the past. Kind of curious what your insights are there.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that time issue is I feel like I've gone through 3 or 4 upgrades at this point where it's always turned into an issue. And so this time I think on the Akash one, so on the Cosmos Hub one, from 2 weeks ago, there was all this confusion about which one are we going to use? And then people started making a Discord poll of hey, which one should we be using? And I'm like, guys, we're building blockchains. I'm not going to turn to using a Discord poll to tell me what to do. And I was like, here, this is the right block according to the timestamp. Sikka is starting a network with this block. Feel free to join us or not. And it's that just kind of it provided a shelling point that everyone's like, all right, fine, let's just go with what that one's saying. And so we all kind of got everyone in line. So that way we were able to do something similar with Akash, because like by the time the Akash network came around, like, the Cosmos Hub one was just like the previous week. And so we were like, all right, this is going to happen. Let's just like pre-plan and tell everyone, hey, this is the block you're supposed to be using. This is the reasoning, so we don't have all that confusion. And so, like, what took us like over an hour to like decide on the Cosmos Hub upgrade, I think we were able to decide within like a couple of minutes on the Akash one.
Yeah, I was actually watching that Cosmos Hub discussion in the Discord, like what we were going to choose, which block you're going to choose, and it was really funny. So I'm glad you can provide some insight there. Greg and Adam, you want to talk about some metrics? I know people are commenting a lot across socials and community. They really want to understand like what kind of metrics we're seeing on the network. Maybe you can expand on that.
Yeah. So
Go ahead.
yeah. So like I mentioned earlier, the most important metrics we look for is users and users deploying, right? So in terms of users, we have like 53 active developers right now. Last I checked, probably more today. And last I checked, about 150 applications deployed, and 27 or so of them active. And the third metric, which is out there but not yet very, very true or very relevant, is GMB, because in the early days of a network, we're optimized for qualitative data more than quantitative data. So we want more people using it, because with the adoption is what the GMB numbers actually come into fruition. But if you were to put some numbers, last we checked was about 60 AKT, that's around 130K annualized. But that could vary significantly next week as well. So the most important and other metrics we'll be measuring is fill rate, how much of compute is actually being consumed. And as we get into a few more weeks of data, you'll be seeing like the average deployment sizes and consumptions and all the fun stuff. But the very incredible thing is we have a very data-driven culture at Akash. So we started putting the foundations right now rather than later. So
thank you for that, Greg. So people are interested in what audited attributes are and why they make Akash powerful. So maybe you guys can talk a little bit about that.
So I could take this one. When we tell people that we're building a decentralized network, there's a decentralized marketplace, I should say, for compute. People immediately start asking about security, like how do I trust who I'm deploying to? How do I know it's somebody that's not going to be snooping on my things? How do I know it's reliable? And the reality is that globally, as we've said many times, there's a lot of unused capacity out there, and that unused capacity is owned by just like a really broad spectrum of organizations, from top tier data centers down to people that have a server running in their closet that isn't being used as much as they'd like it to be. So we need to find a way for people, when they're making deployments, to be able to target anywhere along that spectrum for things like security, things like robustness, uptime, and that kind of stuff. And so the auditor attributes is kind of a decentralized way to do that. So you can have, organizations can can garner trust of users and say like, hey, I am an auditor of data centers, let's just say, and I go in and I ensure that they have adequate or some level of security procedures, etc. And if I audit them, and that provider will have some attributes that says, hey, this is me, I'm so-and-so, I'm on the West Coast, and I have a security rating of 5 or what have you. And me as an auditor can sign those attributes. And when people deploy, they can say, hey, I want to deploy to a provider that's on the West Coast that has a security rating of 5 out of 10. But I want to make sure that this person, me, in this scenario, has audited that and signs off on those statements. And so that's what the audited attribute system allows us to do. So for right now, like in our documentation, just the default deployment files say like, just to make the workflow simple for people, we're trying to bootstrap this whole thing. we tell people like, hey, use require the attributes of the provider you're targeting to be require those attributes to be signed by us over clock. Like the keys on there by default are the our team's keys that are signing it. We're really going to be working hard to to grow a community of auditors such that it's a decentralized system and there's a range of options for people. But it allows all kinds of things. If you want to join a network of just some of your friends, you can target just like that group of your friends through this auditor attributes system. It's really quite powerful. People can start to do reputation systems on top of it. It's really like, we really have just the beginning, and we want people to understand it so they can build upon it, because it can be used for a lot of things.
Yeah, particularly. Sorry, Sunny, you want to go?
No, go ahead.
So I'm super excited about the auditor attributes. Like, if you visualize it, right? You have Ethereum, you have your Ethereums, and like your gigantic big chain models will give you a very homogeneous experience. So you really can't pick and plug and choose what kind of configuration you want for your application. They give you very homogeneous, and they make the decision for you. And take it further up, you have the cloud, Amazon's and Google's. You get customization, but that customization is also limited to the scope of the cloud, right? But with Akash being an open, free system, it's unbounded set of attributes. So you can have like any attribute. A data center can post any of the attributes, and you can, as we gain in volume or numbers, you're going to see a very a gigantic variety of these like attributes. Like, to give you an example, if I am say doing a machine learning workload, my security requirements might be minimal, right? If I'm doing a map reduce, I just send some numbers and get some numbers back. I don't need like that level of security like a financial data or a healthcare application would require. So in that case, I could be like, hey, the security tier 1, just optimize for cost. In this machine learning scenario, cost is probably a better option. But if you want something like financial, you want to probably have like highest level of security, and cost, is not really a thing. You're willing to pay premium, right? In the cloud today, you don't get that level of customization or anywhere, right? So that's really where Akash is positioned, to have this hyper customizable, cloud, and that potentially can be installed in 8.2 million data centers around the world. So the way you want to picture Akash is really, if Akash is Airbnb compute, Amazon is like Hilton. Nothing wrong with being a Hilton, right? Hilton, you have this consistency, right? You get the same brand of coffee, you get the same brand of same breakfast pretty much every day. You have a certain consistency and service that you expect, and that's great. That's great for people that want that consistency. But if you want variety, if you want a gigantic mansion, or if you want like a shack, right, a small bedroom, if you want that kind of variability, you go to Airbnb, and that's really how where Akash is going, right? So the free market for the cloud is what these audited attributes allows us to do. I'm really excited about this feature, and we're going to, like Adam mentioned, we're going to expand upon this feature set. Now it's a very basic feature set that it's a decentralized system. Anyone can become an attribute auditor, but there's no really reputation around it. But we're going to be exploring a lot more on how to build that out and how to incentivize some of these validators.
Great. Thank you so much, Greg. So a lot of people have been asking me in the chats, now that Mainnet 2 launched, what's the plan? What are we prioritizing? Maybe you guys can touch on that.
Yeah, like I mentioned, like auditor attributes is something we're going to be building out a lot and focusing on how do you really get that volume on the cloud. And second thing is improving for security and stability and usability, right? So, we have amazing feature set. People are using the cloud, but we like to see more people use it, and we like to see less questions being asked. The biggest priority is going to be like just making things better, and getting that adoption, right? So, and building out the auditor set, and we have amazing features down the line that will be potentially, adding on to this user this once this priorities are addressed, and that involves both economics as well as storage and whatnot.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Greg. And
I'll just say real quick, I'll just say real quick if I can. Like the number one thing for me is just usability. I think we've been hitting some issues. We haven't tried this platform on on a real production system before, and so we're hitting different things. Like users are hitting things like timeouts and things like that, and it's hard to really understand what's going on behind the scenes when you're new to the system. So it's really important to me that people are able to use to deploy easily. That's like the number one target for me. It's just improved deployment experience, because I know for me, like I know the tricks, I can get through it, and I really enjoy deploying. It's such a great system, and I really like it. It's kind of painful to see people have trouble doing that. So I want to. That's like number one. I want to clear that up for them.
Yeah, it's very powerful. It's like a race car, right? It's very, very powerful, but you got to do a lot of things yourself, right? So if you want to make a race car, a Prius, at least, give you the same power, but give you the same simplicity. Once we can do that, I think that power is unbounded. And I'm personally working on a few side projects building on Akash. I'm adding this sense of DDoS protection, the DNS integration, both with like Cloudflare and Handshake, and KMS integration with NewCipher, and SIAC, Skynet integration for like storage and whatnot. This is not decentralized. I'm not working on the core project because the core system is very hard to upgrade, as you know. But I'm doing a centralized, a hybrid version. Probably wouldn't have logins. Probably will use Akash keys for authentication. I hate logins, but it still will be like a friend on top of Akash that lets you add all these features. And if we deem some of these features to be extra powerful, we'll probably bring it back to the core protocol. I'm really excited about it.
Great. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Adam. And this goes for you and Adam, Greg. Now that this thing is alive, I know you guys have been working on this together for some time. What about seeing your vision come to life is really exciting for you, and like now that people are actually deploying on the network?
Adam, you want to go? I think you muted, Adam.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things. So first of all, just on a personal level, it's nice to like I said, I had a deployment, and like I made a small web app for something, and then I'm like, oh, cool, I'll just deploy it on Akash, and I was able to, and it worked. And like, so that just is like completion of something that we've been working on for a very long time, which is very rewarding to be able to do. And in addition to that, seeing other people get excited about it, and kind of you can tell when people kind of understand what we're getting, like understand what's happening here, and how excited they get. That's really rewarding to see. I've had people contact me about wanting to put their excess compute on the network, in like very, very large quantities of it. I've had people contact me about their ideas for what kinds of apps they want to deploy on the network, just like really, really cool ideas. And like just seeing people kind of start to realize what we're doing with this project and get excited about it has been the number one rewarding thing for me. And it also makes me really excited about the near future too, because I think we're going to be doing some really amazing things. And not us, actually. I think the community is going to be doing some really amazing things with the project.
And yeah, that's a very important point, Adam, about what community is going to be doing, right? So one of the things that I mean, just being able to use your platform to do your own deployments is just, the feeling cannot be replaced. You can't buy that. That's really amazing, right? I love that too. I've been like hacking on it. I've been coding. I haven't coded in a while, so I've been just coding on it for all week and bugging a lot of people. But I just love it. I'm super excited. And what's really like intriguing, that I didn't quite realize this, but I realize it now, is most successful projects, if you look at Twitter, look at Instagram, look at any of these projects, most successful projects that I've used have very limited set of functionality. And people, when their users figure out ways around those limitations with a creative outlet. For example, Twitter, when they launched, they didn't have retweet, right? In order to retweet, you got to put RT, and the username, and copy paste the message. That was retweet, right? They didn't have likes. They didn't have any of these features. It was such a bare bones system for a long time that it didn't. And and hats off to Jack Dorsey to have the discipline to say no to features, right? But what they had was a solid platform. It worked. It didn't go down. I mean, it had its moments, but it worked, and people love it. When people find something useful, they figure out creative avenues to build upon. And that's what we are seeing in Akash. So Akash doesn't have like persistent storage, and people are coming up with ideas on how to use that. Akash doesn't have secrets management, and people are coming up with ideas how to use that, right? Doesn't have like arbitrary runs, like all these features you would expect in a cloud platform. But people are texting me, messaging me on like very amazing ideas on how they can hack into the platform and how they want to use it. This tells me there is this inherent signaling from product market fit that I have not seen in any platform. So that's very exciting to actually see people come up with creative ways to use Akash. And we're going to be very disciplined in not feature creeping Akash and keeping the system solid and making the developer experience, like Adam mentioned, extremely well, right? Probably the best experience that we can deliver. And people will figure out, a community will figure out amazing ways on using it. And we're seeing that quite a bit. And that's really very rewarding for me to see that in action.
Thanks, Greg. Really looking forward to seeing what you're going to be building on top of Akash and what the rest of the community is going to be coming up with. Sunny, time for some questions. I got questions for you. So with Stargate launched, the Cosmos community is super excited about the potential of having an AMM on the hub. And a lot of people here may know or may not know you're working on a new project called Osmosis. Would you mind sharing a little bit more about that with our community?
Yeah, sure. So Osmosis is a new project that I've been working on for past 3 to 4 months now, working on it with the Kepler team. So, the best wallet in the Cosmos ecosystem. And so we've been working together on building this new AMM platform. And essentially what our take here is, it's a very Cosmos-esque approach to building an AMM platform. So, the Cosmos mindset is like, hey, have as many different chains, and they're all experimenting and have their own governance, are evolving, and you have this like open marketplace of chains. And so we're kind of taking a similar approach to AMMs, where AMMs. I wrote a blog post about a year ago called "DAOifying Uniswap," and basically in that I argued that like, hey, Uniswap is like super cool, but like it's very simplistic, and like AMMs need to become way more powerful and more customizable. And since then, they have been becoming more customizable. So you see things like Balancer and Curve. And so you see all these like new AMM designs. But I think there's like even more that we can do. And so what the point of Osmosis is to be a platform that exposes as many tools to new Curve designers and LPs in order so they can design new custom pools and new algorithms, taking into things like volatility indices, time, taking into account like validator provided price oracles, and like using all this like new tools that are at their disposal to create more powerful AMMs that are, more capital efficient, or maybe better designed for certain use cases like options and stuff that traditional AMMs are just not really designed for. And so that's sort of what Osmosis is. It's a new chain built on the Cosmos SDK that's going to support this, and it's really meant to be like an interchain native AMM. So it's going to support all the IBC assets, including Akash, Atoms, all these tokens that we have that are growing in the IBC ecosystem, and really focus on being the best liquidity venue for all these assets.
Thank you. That's really great. I know that there's a very strong hunger in the Cosmos community for an AMM, and so is there a timeline for Osmosis, like in terms of launch? Like, do you have a timeline? Can you talk about that?
So anyone who's like followed the launch of the Cosmos Hub knows that I know better than to give any hard timelines, because any timeline I give will not be real. So all I can say is we're actively working. We're finishing up some final steps of like our V1 launch. The V1 launch is not, I have this, I pitched this whole vision about like hyper customizability, and then going to have like front running resistance using threshold decryption that we're building. But the V1 launch is like very simplistic. It's gonna our plan with Osmosis is to take a very iterative approach, and that's one of the reasons we needed it to be on its own chain. So I know there's a AMM coming on the Cosmos Hub, but with Osmosis, we just needed to be able to iterate very quickly. Our plan is to have like upgrades like on a monthly basis, and so just having that speed, having our own chain, gives us that ability to iterate at that speed that we need to.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for that, Sunny.
That's pretty aligned. Like,
Yeah.
what's really exciting about Osmosis and Sunny's vision is very aligned with how we develop products, right? Like Akash, what we launched is a V1, right? But the foundation has to be pragmatic and has to be iterative in order for you to succeed. You can't, like some of those projects that we see in blockchain that takes years on out, developing and ultimately launch, and nobody wants to use them, right? But what I really like about Osmosis is very Cosmos-esque in the sense being pragmatic, being iterative, launch quick, and move fast. I'm really excited for Osmosis, and of course, you're going to have multiple hubs, and that's really good for the market, right? And best let the best hub win, and let the market decide. Best DMM win, and let the market decide what DMM to go with, right? So I'm really excited. Cosmos is just breaking ground in DeFi, and it's really exciting to see projects like Osmosis, coming live very soon.
I like that, Greg. Let the best hub win. Also, looking forward to getting AKT on Osmosis. Sunny, a lot of people here are familiar with you from the Cosmos ecosystem and from your validator, your Sikka validator. Maybe you can talk about how Sikka started.
Yeah, sure. So Sikka started basically over 2 years ago, right around when the Cosmos Hub launched, where I was at the time, I was very focused on building and designing proof of stake. So, because what we were launching for the Cosmos Hub was sort of the first ever BFT proof of stake system in the world. And for me, I was, very heads deep in like architecting and building the staking module and all the things that go into it. And so what we did was, what I wanted to do was be able to put on the hat of a validator and like be my own customer, to dog food it and really like go through the motions of being I'm writing all this software that I'm expecting all these other validators to use, but if I'm not using it myself, I don't understand the UX that they're going through. And so I kind of just started running this validator in order to do that, where I could learn, go through the software, be part of, at the time we had the Game of Stakes testnet. I wanted to like, participate in the Game of Stakes testnet myself, so I can have that experience and be like, do a better job at building the software. And then once the chain started, we got a lot of delegation, and then we sort of, Dave and I were like, hey, this is kind of fun. We actually really, I guess the part that we enjoy the most is the governance aspects of things. So we really like to be active participants in governance. We've never missed voting on any governance proposal. We've always I think like, maybe like 25% of, or maybe now it's lower, maybe like 20% of the governance proposals on the Cosmos Hub came from us. And so it's like, we just really like being active in that governance process, which is one of the reasons we like to be a validator, because it helps us get our, message out there better than if we weren't. And it also, like I said, once again, it comes down to just being able to understand different sides of the table. So, I saw in Bitcoin the scaling debates, and it came down to this like developers versus miners situation. And you see this happening right now in Ethereum as well. This is like called miners versus like rest of the community situation happening right now with EIP 1559. And so, just being able to, once again, like, be able to be a developer, but also be able to be a validator, so I can, whenever these sort of governance disputes end up inevitably happening, I'll be able to have the perspectives of both and be able to have be able to act as a bridge between the two communities.
Yeah, and that's one of the interesting things. I mean, I love Cosmos governance, on-chain governance for that one reason, right? Like right now, there's a big revolt in Ethereum community that the chain is going to be forked by the miners, because EIP 1559 is going to reduce income for these miners, right? And that's just like creates a very unnatural like incentive model, where the miners don't really care about developers, and developers don't care about miners. I think proof of stake systems give you that amazing alignment, as well as a very strong framework for governance. You don't see that kind of stuff happen in Cosmos. Also because like Cosmos ecosystem is also very sovereign blockchains and whatnot. But yeah, I think that's a very valid thing to point out.
Thanks, guys. Sunny, could you talk to us a little bit about what it's like to be an Akash validator and advisor, and why did you initially get involved with Akash to begin with?
Yeah, sure. I initially got involved with Akash because, I mean, a couple of different reasons. So one was I was very well, okay. So one was, there's a lot of tech that I was very interested in. So, there was like pieces of like, obviously Cosmos. I was really interested in the Interledger protocol. I was really like, and like all these like different things. And then like, I talked to Greg at a number of times at different events, and like, he was like one of the few people who knew about all of these, and he was like excited about the same stuff that I was. And so I think we just started connecting off of that. And then, he started telling me about Akash, and I got excited about it because, there's this whole like movement for like the Web 3.0, or like the decentralized web that's happening. And what I saw, I was quite interested in a lot of the decentralized web stuff. So I had been following like the storage and Saya projects for a long time. And basically what I saw was, in this like push to build a decentralized web, I saw that there's a lot of people building the tooling needed to get to like a web 1.0. So like, the web 1.0, where you have all these pages and like with information and links and images and all this cool stuff. Like, you have, what are the things you need for this? You need a storage system, you need a namespace for like DNS, you need a bandwidth kind of thing. And I saw a lot of people building a lot of these things. So storage, Saya, Filecoin, DNS, you had like, literally the first altcoin was Namecoin. Then you have like Handshake and ENS and all these things. But all of these tools like still only get you to Web 1.0. They're not going to help you build a decentralized Web 2.0. And if you look at it today, most of the time today is spent on the Web 2.0, whether it's on Twitter or Facebook, like, or any like social media, or whether it's like playing games, or whether it's, almost all your time is spent on Web 2.0. Obviously, Web 1.0 is still there. I spend a lot of my time on Wikipedia, but it's not going to, that's not going to be enough. And so I saw Akash was sort of one of the only projects that I saw was actually tackling like, how do we build the core infrastructure needed to build a decentralized Web 2.0? And I just saw that, when I looked around at the time, there was like, I saw very few people were working on it, or very few people were making like legitimate progress on it. And I just saw that like, also another piece was just the amount of open source work that the team was doing. Like, I think that like they've done a lot of cool, I really love Golang. It's like it's a language I write in most of the time. And I just saw like, hey, this team like has all this cool open source like Go infrastructure that they build, and tooling, and like, they have like CLI tools that they build, and like, I just love this like open source ethos and like building tools to give back to the community. Even I know Greg's, maybe he'll talk about it later, but I know he's working on some like, like coordinator stuff that will go into Akash eventually. But like, I imagine it can also be used for like just general open source like infrastructure. So really, these are a couple of the reasons why I really got drawn to this team.
Yeah, that's awesome. And for us, it was just genuine. I mean, Sunny being extremely one of the few people that I've met that has genuine curiosity and genuinely excited about tech. And it was like an awesome alignment for us from the get-go. And yeah, thanks for that, Sunny.
Thanks, Sunny. Question for you. I know we talked a bit about your work with Osmosis, and I know you're really active in governance across all your validators. Just curious if there's anything else that you want to talk about that's happening in the Cosmos universe, or anything that you're working on specifically that's related to Cosmos.
Yeah. So, I mean, as a company, we're working on our Osmosis work, but at the same time, we're still one of the core development teams of Cosmos SDK and stuff. And so we're constantly doing stuff for the Cosmos SDK. We do sometimes we do governance proposals for it. We'll ask the Cosmos Hub hey, we'll like a little bit of funding to build this little feature or something. And now we're actually gonna soon be starting engagement with the ICF for this. But yeah, especially for me, the modules that I personally have a soft spot for is the staking module and then the governance module. Especially the governance module was the one that I wrote, and so I have a little bit of a soft spot for these ones, and so I like to just continue contributing to them. And I think the staking system of the Cosmos SDK is pretty cool, but I think there's a lot more features that we can start to add in. So we've been adding in a lot of epoching. We've been adding in proportional slashing, and then some of them are just features that we needed for Osmosis. We wanted to, for Osmosis, one of the things we have is that each of the AMMs, they can be governed by their LPs. And so the LPs of a pool can choose how to upgrade it. And so to do that, we were like, hey, we could just fork the governance module and start modifying it. But instead we're like, hey, let's actually upstream this and figure out how to modularize the governance module better so that it could be, reused by other people as well. And so that's something we've been contributing to. Oh, and then yes, the other thing that I'm really excited about in Cosmos is another project that we've been working on sort of in parallel to Osmosis, but eventually it'll feed back into Osmosis as well as other Cosmos projects, which is threshold decryption. So you see today there's all this especially within DeFi, there's all this front running that's happening on every blockchain right now. And so what we really wanted to do is figure out how we can have a system that prevents any sort of front running. And so the solution that we found is, well, what you need is a way of encrypting transactions in the mempool. And then once they're in a block, they get decrypted and executed. And there's a couple of different ways that you could do this. There's the SGX solution, which is I don't want to use trusted hardware. There's this thing called time block crypto, which has all of these UX concerns. The one that we found that works the best is threshold decryption. And it turns out it really works the best when you have a BFT system, when you have a consensus protocol similar to Tendermint. And so this is just yet another evidence for us that going with this BFT system was definitely the right move. You want this consensus protocol that has validator that you can assign additional tasks to them. So whether you're assigning them providing Oracle data, or you're assigning them to be your threshold decryption committee, or all these things. And so that's one of the things that I think is very valuable about Tendermint and the Cosmos SDK, that you have this validator set that you can, add additional tasks that they do on to help support the network other than just pure validation.
Great. Thank you, Sunny. So for those of you guys who aren't following Sunny on Twitter, you should, because he has a great Twitter. And you are a treasure trove of awesome geography facts. And I would love it if you could share a few of those with our audience today.
Sure. How about
if you feel like it? How
about you let's let say country, and I'll see if I can think of one. All right.
Let's let the community decide. I'm watching the chat. Somebody drop a country. Where do you want a geography fact from? Let's go. Go chat box. Go. Let's see. Where are you at?
Well, since I'm in Taiwan right now, how about Taiwan?
Yeah, let's start with Taiwan.
Yeah, let me think. Oh, okay. I mean, this is so the former name of Taiwan is Formosa, right? And do you know what an antipode is? An antipode is 2 points on the exact opposite side of the earth. So Taiwan is antipodal to a province of Argentina called Formosa. Formosa is antipodal to Formosa, and I think that's just really funny.
That is incredible, and I cannot
subscribe to your geography facts. I've heard that. Yeah.
I can't believe you just pulled that. We literally just said Taiwan and you pulled that out of your hat. That is incredible. If you look at the chat, we have like dozens of people asking for different places. So I'm just gonna ask. Let's do Sweden. Sweden sounds fun. What do we got from Sweden?
I know it's the country with the most islands in the world, which is a little bit unexpected. I mean, this is not. I don't know if this is geography or not, but like, Sweden actually imports garbage because they actually go ahead and like not most of their garbage is actually is burnt and they like use it as an energy source, and they use up all of their own garbage to the point where they actually start importing garbage from other countries in order to do energy production. And it's like it's very weird why like I don't know why this process has only. I don't know. I feel this is something that should be researched. Like, and like, why is only Sweden doing this and no one else? And it's like, I don't know. I feel this is something that should definitely be like a bit more. You know, love to see this. See it. Probably a lot more research into this to see if it's worth doing.
So yeah, when I was telling Sunny is like one of the most curious people in the world, this is what I meant.
Do yourself a favor and follow Sunny on Twitter. We're gonna link in the chat box. One of my favorite Twitter accounts. We're gonna do one more just out of curiosity because this is really fun for me, and I think it's fun for you too. Let's do Italy. I feel like we got some. There's got to be some fun facts in Italy.
Let me think.
Or Turkey. I'm throwing you a lifeline. Turkey.
All right, Turkey. Okay, Turkey. I know one for Turkey. Turkey is
okay. Here we go.
So Turkey is so the bird turkey, like the buck buck buck. We call it turkeys because in Europe people thought it came from like Turkey, and so they called it turkey. But in Turkey, it's actually the bird is called Hindi because they thought it came from India.
That's crazy.
This is incredible, and I have to say, this is one of my favorite live streams that we've done yet, and this is one of my favorite segments on a live stream that we've done yet. Thank you for that, Sunny. You're a wealth of information.
I was definitely thinking at some point we should do like a Jeopardy game or something with all of these.
Oh yeah, this is a great. I've got all kinds of stuff running in my head right now. That was awesome. So before we get into the Q&A, which is our favorite part of the live stream, we just have some general questions for the three of you. I'm getting a lot of questions from the community asking, how do I become a validator? What are the steps that I can take to becoming a validator? Maybe you guys can give some insight on, like, for people who actually want to get into the active validator set, what your advice is for them.
Well, the easy way would be to go buy a bunch of tokens off market and just, become a validator. I think the minimum right now is about 375 AKT. So I know that may be prohibitive for a lot of the folks, but a better way to become a validator is to, do something good for the network, for the community. So delegators can delegate to you. And we are very active in identifying good validators and delegating from our treasury. And usually when we delegate from a treasury, that's a good sign that's taken well from the community and they delegate to you. I published a framework, a proposed framework as to how we are thinking about delegations. Go to our forum.akash.network. There's a post on this validator framework and it's actively being developed. So I jot down some ideas as to what we think are valuable. But definitely, I think right now we're going to be looking at a lot more than what I posted because we are a live platform now, and we love our validators to actually run their infrastructure on Akash itself. At least start off with like websites and whatnot. So we're going to be optimizing our treasury delegations for people that run their infrastructure on Akash. I mean, we have to because you're actually serving, and we're going to be optimizing for people that are going to spread the word about Akash and bring more Akash, more users into Akash. We're also working on a referral program or a powered by Akash mechanism where you put the logo on the bottom, and the more traffic you generate back to our our destination that we think people should land up, we will award more delegations. We're going to use the delegations strategically to incentivize adoption for Akash network.
Great. Thank you for that answer, Greg. So we'll speed through these last couple questions because I want to make sure we have enough time for our Q&A. How does Akash integrate into the larger crypto space? We'll kind of just do like a rapid fire section of questions.
Sure. So this is the thing I was talking about earlier when I say we're going to integrate with like a lot of these tools using my bot, right? But more importantly, now that the IBC is a reality, we can actually look at a deeper protocol integration down the line. So, like Sunny mentioned, if you really want to decentralize Web 2.0, the infrastructure, you need several services for a website to run. For example, a website needs a DNS, right, to resolve an IP address. It needs a server sitting somewhere that can process your request and host a database. It needs some storage sitting somewhere, right? That server needs to be secure and needs to have a key management system. So you need different components to actually deliver a solution on the cloud. And Akash provides one part of the equation, which is compute. So DNS, we have Handshake, Namecoin, ENS, those networks that do DNS resolution. Then you have Saya, Storage, Filecoin, RV that do long-term archival storage. Akash is the only network that does compute, right? And so that also puts us in a very interesting position because we are essentially the first touch point. When you have to deploy something, you got to deploy compute, and then you attach all the services to compute, DNS and all that. Without compute, there is really no way, right? So that puts us in a very amazing position of being this gateway for the decentralized cloud, and that's where we want to go. We're going to start off with more, faster, quicker, iterative integration points, and as the interoperability comes to maturity, and as these networks come to maturity, and of course, there's no guarantee a lot of these networks are going to survive product market fit test, which we are experiencing in the cloud ecosystem right now. And do not believe the hype with adoption. So hype could be a lot more than actual adoption, right? So we're going to see in the next few years how these networks really test out with users using them, and the people and the networks that are going to survive are with users. So when that happens, we want to see a more interoperable world where Akash is the gateway, and you can pay for all these services, NewCipher or Saya and all these networks using Akash token. And in future, we may even run networks like Urbit. Urbit is like a very fascinating, weird networks that I call it the crypto LSD. So we don't really know they have something really interesting stuff, and I would love to run that on Akash. Maybe even Dfinity on Akash. I mean, Dfinity community thinks it's more like I don't know, Sunny, you have any thoughts on what Dfinity is?
I don't know. Potentially vaporware. I don't know. It probably something, but there's so much. I can't really say anything about this. There's nothing to say until they show me the code.
Right. So someone tweeted something really funny this morning. They said Dfinity is like that's the startup that
I read that. Yeah, it was pretty funny.
I'm blocking right now. It's pretty funny, right? Yeah, so we'll see, right?
One of the things
magically,
I was going to say one of the things that I'm really excited about, like for how Akash can integrate with the larger crypto space, is because I've been, I'm really into like DAOs and things like this. And so, I think you have a lot of like protocols and stuff that are owned by DAOs, and this is becoming a more and more common thing. But like usually the front ends and stuff are still hosted by like pretty centralized entities. And I'd love to see that, like, hey, can we get like, Sushi Swap, for example, like, can that, it's a very DAO controlled thing. Can we have that, like, hey, the DAO actually is the one paying for the deployment of the sushi front ends, and like it can use governance to decide what new features to add to front ends and things like this. And this is also really helpful from a private, from another standpoint as well. Like, not just the DAOs deploying things, but like even you as a user, when you interact. So when you interact with a front end, like a DeFi front end, for example, right? You want some sort of privacy guarantees, and so you don't know whether a lot of these front ends are taking your data or whatnot, right? Like you can, because sometimes they'll have their code publicly available, but you don't know if that's actually the code that's running on their servers. You don't know what kind of logging they're doing on their servers. But you know how like they always say like, hey, you should always be running your own nodes, right? Like, don't trust Infura to run your nodes. You should run your own Ethereum node. Well, it's the same thing for the front ends as well. With the cool thing of the Akash is you can easily, like, just as easily as you can spin up a node, an Ethereum node, you can also just package up, the Uniswap front end and deploy it to your own like personal Akash like thing and interact with that rather than interacting with this. And because you compiled the source code yourself and deployed it, and that's like a very you have a lot more guarantees than just trusting someone else's code. So I think there's a lot of ways that like getting people to like be able to get around the idea of like, hey, interacting with self-hosted front ends and stuff. I think this will be a big boon, especially for like privacy stuff, at least for very high value things, right?
Yeah, and I think that's where the idea that I frame called ownerless services. There shouldn't be a single owner, or there shouldn't be an identifiable person or a human being that is controlling the website. I think it should be on a threshold signature scheme. It could be a DAO controlling the website, and verifying that you actually have the same code running, verifying these websites are not maliciously tracking your IP address, and all that, right? So, and some of the projects like Thorchain understands the value of this, and if you see a recent tweet by Thorchain, they put out that they're really excited about Akash and how they want to use Akash. I saw Serum on their in the documentation linking to Akash hosted networks. So the folks that really understand the value of privacy and really are in the forefront of delivering these DeFi innovations understand that Akash solves a very critical problem, which is privacy for the DeFi developers. I'm really excited about the use case.
Thanks, guys. Last question, and I want to make sure we get to the people's. I want to make sure that we get to our audience's questions. So, Greg, what are some of your favorite deployments thus far? I know there's been a couple different types. Maybe you can talk about your favorites real quick.
So we have like a few categories, right? You have these personal websites that are actually moving to Akash, right? So we have amazing blogs. We have this really cool like solar telescope website. They're actually building out a whole application stack. They never used the cloud before. They just love Akash. And then you have the second category of heavier applications. Like I saw someone actually building a Helium node to run on Akash, and a lot of these like DeFi and node infrastructure moving to Akash because they really find the developer experience and like an anonymity, the no bullshit, just deploy without signups, without logins. That's very appealing to a lot of people. And we have the third category, which are like tools on Akash itself, right? Like someone built like a one-time password encryption tool that I thought was really cool. And we have this humongous list of applications people are deploying on Akash. If you go to Awesome Akash, you can see you have like games, you have like databases, like multi-site replication databases. So many things happening. But yeah, I would say like if I had to pick a favorite, I would be like the creative ways people use like the one-time password thing was very creative. I really like that. Because I haven't really expected like the other things I kind of know like this is cool, but things that come out of unexpected like that realm is really exciting.
Awesome, thanks, Greg. That was awesome. Thanks for a really engaging fireside chat, gentlemen. We're gonna move over to the Q&A. I know we're running a little bit over, so I just want to be mindful of your time, Sunny. How are we doing? Do you still have some time to answer some questions?
Yeah, I'm free till 1:30.
Oh, excellent. Okay, thank you so much. So we have a question here, and Greg, you can take this one. Are there plans to build some self-healing features, auto scale, replicate, scale down, etc., for decentralized apps deployed to Akash?
Really good question. I love that question. Yes, actually, I am writing a tool called Mitra. Now I will be open sourcing it. That does self healing for you in the sense like in an event, if your workload gets taken down by a provider, they kick you out. This tool will automatically find a new provider and deploy it and show that your workload is always running and gives you all the beautiful like notifications and whatnot. As you know, Akash doesn't support notifications. Will we build that part of the core infrastructure? That depends. Like I said, we want to keep Akash very in terms of features to be very limited but solid, right? We don't want to feature creep it because more code you write, the more attack signature you're essentially adding on the blockchain. So you want to keep the attack signature and the code base as minimal, as tight as possible, and as solid as possible, and write additional features on top of Akash. And of course, we're going to be testing these and we're going to be seeing this in the wild as to how they perform, and make the necessary adjustments. Once we see that a feature is at a mature state, we can then further think about moving that to the core protocol. But yes, the extensibility and the openness of Akash is so amazing that anybody can actually write a tool. And a very cool thing, I'll be publishing this very soon, is the pub sub mechanism that's built into Akash is very powerful. So you can literally write like an event triggered applications that pretty much trigger on any event, on chain events, and you can do a reactive style application to answer to those events. And those events could be an order getting taken down, or a deployment going down, or whatnot, or even like your balance going down, all that kind of stuff.
Thanks for that, Greg. Go ahead.
Oh, never mind.
No, please go ahead.
I'll say we designed this Akash from the start to support those kinds of things. So definitely take a look into the capabilities of it. We originally had this idea of something called like a self-managed deployment, where it's kind of like not quite self-aware, but as when you deploy things, you can have part of your deployment be something that kind of manages the deployment, add some capacity here where it's needed, remove some capacity there, restarts things. This was all part of the initial design of the system. So we're definitely going to be, as Greg said, he's working on a tool to realize some of that, and it's going to be something that we're going to continue to work on going forward. And I think when people see what the capabilities are, sure, you're going to have the, on other things, autoscalers or what have you. We'll support that, of course, but it's also much more than that. I think people are really get excited about it.
Thanks for that, Adam. Go ahead.
Yeah, as we start publishing more code on how to use this API, Akash is a very powerful API. There's not enough documentation out there to actually show the power, but once we start like showing code on how do you extend this, I mean, it's very exciting. I mean, when do you get a chance to build an autoscaler for like a cloud platform, right? Or the last time we did that? Like, this is your opportunity. If you have any Golang programmers in the audience, I really want them to take a look at it. It's very exciting.
Great. Thanks, Greg. Question from Aaron. IBC is now released on the Cosmos Hub, and Akash supports it too. What are the next steps to connect to the hub?
Adam?
Yeah, there's a proposal actually on chain right now that's going through to enable IBC, but I think that one part got missed. So we need to make a second proposal. I think that transfers are not enabled, but IBC is. I don't remember. You have to go look at it, but it's essentially very soon. So a few more weeks, and we'll be ready to connect to the hub. It's going to be really exciting.
And this is the fun part of decentralized systems, right? Someone put a proposal out there that wasn't fully thorough, but it kind of did the half part of IBC enabling, but the transfers are not enabled. But we'll probably put another proposal to enable transfers. But I think it's going to be very, very soon. Maybe put the proposal, it'll take another 2 weeks to connect to the hub.
Okay, great. Thank you for that, guys. Sunny, this one's for you. And I know you touched on this a little bit earlier, but for some of our newer viewers, maybe you can just touch on some of the core differences between Osmosis and the AMM module that on the hub.
Yeah, sure. So the AMM module on the hub is meant to be pretty simplistic, or like it's meant to be like very focused on like one type of AMM. The bHarvest team is doing a lot of really cool work on like designing this new like batch AMM design, which is pretty cool. But and I think that will have some usage. But I think that the point of Osmosis is like to have like all these different like more experimentation on just different types of AMMs. Like, you know, even like this traditional form of how we think of AMMs is like very useful for like, you know, basic assets. But like when you have like once you start getting into like derivatives and things like that, like you really need to like have like fundamental changes to how your AMMs look. And I'm also like a big fan of bonding curves. I think like AMMs are like cool, but I think like bonding curves are like definitely underutilized. And so, you know, I'm a big fan of like, and so I think right now there's like over reliance on AMMs is like, I'm for example, I'm a big fan of like Fei protocol. So Fei protocol is like launching this new stablecoin on Ethereum really soon, and their design is really, really cool. But I think it's a little bit overcomplicated because they make it work within a Uniswap like model, and it's like you guys did a lot of hacking around to make it fit into this model. But the reason they did it is because, you know, this is what people are used to interacting with. But if you could hide away a lot of the complexity from like, hey, underlying this thing, you know, the user just is trying to do a swap, right? They don't care what's the algorithm being used underneath. They don't care whether it's a bonding curve or an AMM or what type of AMM it is. They just want to know like, hey, what's the pricing I'm getting? And so the point of Osmosis is to allow, you know, one of the taglines we've been saying is like, hey, like, you know, as simple as possible for the traders, but like power tools for the LPs, and like just give as powerful tools as possible to them so they can design the best system for them.
Awesome. Thank you, Sunny. And anybody can take this one. How will the network be secured after 2030? Would it be profitable for people to stake AKT at an annual interest rate of less than 2%?
Well, that's the plan. I mean, 2030, we're talking about 10 years. We don't, from the math I did, I think the inflation is somewhere decent. It's pretty, it halves every 4 years, right? So you're not going to see that lucrative 56% APR. But in 10 years, the idea is the inflationary rewards will be replaced by take income from the network activity itself. So, and beauty is even our team can, you know, we don't know what will happen in 10 years and we don't know where each one of us is going to be. So, but the whole point of network, Akash, is it can run by itself, and economic activity already began on the network and people started to deploy, and that's only going to get better and better over time. So in 10 years, I would imagine it's going to be a fully self-sovereign, fully self-sustaining system. And if you think about the cloud, it's what, $300 billion, right? So even like a, you know, reasonable, like, you know, 1% market share is $3 billion of network activity, economic activity coming into the network. Even, I mean, these are very hypothetically forward-looking numbers, but just to give you an idea as to like what this, how massive a cloud is and what sort of like, what are the possibilities when we succeed.
Thank you, Greg. A lot of people are asking when are they going to be able to start offering compute on the network? I've gotten that question a bunch. Maybe you can touch on that.
You can do it right now. Sorry.
Yeah, you actually can today. So the reason why we're not really pushing this out a lot is because we want to make sure that it's stable for people. You know, money's on the line now. It's Mainnet. We want to make sure it's stable for both providers and also for people deploying. But it's absolutely possible to do now. I think that the documentation was just updated for it. It's kind of like the recommended way of creating a provider. It's there on docs.akash.network. So you can do it. The thing you should be aware of is that you know, the network just started, and the demand isn't quite there. So if you think you're going to turn on a machine and make thousands of dollars a month, you'll probably be a bit disappointed. That being said, you know, it's great to have people, early adopters, and to get feedback from people from you if you want to try it. So please do go ahead and try.
And come talk to us, right? We'll help you get successful, right? So if you have a compute, and just let us know, and we'll work with you. on things we know and things we may not know, right? Like, so you're running infrastructure, you're running a cloud, so there's a certain level of expectation that you should meet a certain quality threshold and whatnot, and that's really where the audited attributes come into play, right? So the audited attributes is to ensure that the providers on network are meeting the levels of quality thresholds that's expected of them.
Yeah, and just
Great.
to like get the correct just kind of that question is like when will we be able to add compute? It's a decentralized network. Anybody can add compute. So if you want to go do it, do it. And this whole thing about quality is that, like Greg is saying, that's where the audited attributes comes in. If you're a data center, if you're a professional, and you know what you're doing, and you come talk to us, hey, I'm going to set up my computer. Like we're able to work with you to ensure that it's a stable platform for people to deploy to. We'll absolutely sign your attributes so that when people are looking for high quality providers, they'll go to you as well. So it's all open. It's decentralized. We have a bit to make it a little bit more controlled so people have a better experience, but it's all there.
Awesome. Thank you, Adam. We have a question that I'll take. Hi, wondering how you're planning to market towards providers and tenants outside the blockchain space. So the first massive opportunity for us, obviously, is to market to our immediate decentralized ecosystem, right? Decentralized finance, decentralized apps, businesses that need to be decentralized, that are currently running on centralized providers and are suffering in terms of their growth, scale, and innovation because of that, essentially. And after that, what we're going to do is we're going to leverage the growth and adoption levers that we've been using to do that, and the learnings that we get from marketing to our immediate decentralized ecosystem, and we're going to start marketing to high growth industries like machine learning, AI, deep learning, and as always, we're going to be leveraging online and offline marketing, community programs, partnerships, and co-marketing. We'll be working with KOL engagement, developer relations and marketing. And at the end of the March, we're going to have a really great YouTube stream with our Chief Growth Officer, Molly, where we talk a little bit more about our growth plan and strategies for the rest of the year. So that's that.
I'll just add just a little bit. My thoughts on that as well is that like we're going to start using Akash for all of our own hosting. And so things like continuous integration. Continuous integration is something like every software project has. When you commit code, it runs a bunch of tests and things like that somewhere in the cloud. And it's a gigantic marketplace. We're going to do our best to have our own continuous integration run on Akash. And I think that it's going to be this kind of a thing where, developers start to use it just in their everyday life. And, developers that are tinkers, that are hobbyists, that are really paying attention to the cutting edge technology that's available. And it's like wildfire from there. Or maybe not wildfire, but I think that it'll spread from there. And so there will be a fair amount. I'm really looking forward to like fostering a fair amount of organic growth just from developers.
Okay, great. Here we go. I think there's one more question, guys. What use cases of Akash G-Cloud do you see the most potential in?
Yeah, so I think I've touched this quite a bit in the past. I mean, like Adam mentions, a lot of generic, but one of the things that's very intriguing, very unique about Akash, besides the beautiful, extensive attribute system, is the idea of a peer-to-peer cloud, right? So and this kind of came through a customer development we were doing with a lot of machine learning companies. And there's a lot of research report, and there's an article by Andreessen Horowitz that stated about 20% of margins for a lot of AI companies go to paying the cloud bills. And it's rampant. It's very, very expensive. Sunny here runs a Sunny AI bot, which is phenomenal. You should follow on Twitter, by the way. It's sometimes better than Sunny's real account. But so the thing is GPT-2, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that takes enormous amount of compute, and it's very prohibitive for a lot of these companies. So what these companies normally do is they bring in-house. So they actually have compute clusters running in-house, right? And while that is great, it shaves some of the bill, and most of the time these guys are using these clusters maybe 2 or 3 times an hours a day, right? So majority of the time, these clusters are not being used. And in an event when they want to use them, they tend to peak their capacity. They tend to need more. So they have to still go to the cloud, right? So there's no like avoiding the cloud, right? In a scenario like that, they can install Akash and earn compute credits in AKT tokens in their downtime. And when they want to peak, they can use these AKT tokens to actually use for compute. So you essentially create a very amazing mechanism where the provider becomes a tenant and vice versa. It's a self-serving ecosystem of a peer-to-peer cloud. That's really exciting. That's only possible on Akash, right? And then those are some of the use cases that I get particularly excited because you can't do that in the cloud. Right now, Akash, you can do what you can do in the cloud on Akash itself, but a peer-to-peer cloud, and we have machine learning companies knocking on our door. And of course, there's technical capabilities we need to enable, and big part of that is figuring out how to do multi-tenancy for GPU workloads, which is not exactly the easiest thing to do. So the technical problem we need to solve on multi-tenancy for GPUs. The market exists, and as we explore and this arena will certainly make progress in that space.
Yeah, I'm
Great.
like really excited for the GPUs because, like Greg mentioned. So last year I was like doing. So I built a GPT-2 bot of myself on Twitter. So that's my Twitter handle is sunny97_bot. And for that, I was able to. After building that, I was like, hey, I want to make it easy for anyone to create a bot of themselves. And so I started building an app that like allows anyone to just go input their Twitter handle and it goes and generates a bot for that handle. And the problem was it was like, I tried doing it using like Google Cloud's like GPU stuff, and it was just like very expensive. And so one thing I'm also really excited about is just getting like GPU like capabilities on Akash. And I think there'll be like, especially as we see a lot of these like proof of work coins start to switch to proof of stake. So especially like, you're going to see like Ethereum switch to proof of stake pretty soon. You're going to have a lot of GPUs on the market that like need can do something better with and so I'm hoping to see that like Akash will be there and ready to fill in those boots and like take in all that capacity.
Totally, it's kind of interesting because the miners have been buying up the like world's like output of GPUs for all this time, to the great frustration of people that want to use GPUs for other things. And now there's going to be that use case is kind of going away in some ways, and so there's going to be this giant excess capacity of GPU. So we really are going to absolutely want to capitalize on that and allow our users to access it and allow people to offer their GPUs online, because I think it's really important for us to do.
Well, thank you guys. That was an awesome fireside chat and Q&A. I just wanted to say thank you to Sunny for joining us and giving us your time. Greg?
One more, somebody asked a question about like how much does it cost to put a WordPress website right now on Akash, and was it very expensive on Monday? Yes, we did. We are very aware of that, and we actually fixed the bug. There was a decimal error, which was quoting prices 100 times more than they should be. Sorry about that. Happens, but right now it's about $0.60 per month to do a half a gigabyte memory, half a gigabyte, some decent disk space and whatnot. So it's about 8 times cheaper than Amazon Fargate. So please give it a try, and sorry about that early. And we will be making a very exciting contributions to our early deployers. We know we have your keys. We have your public address.
All your keys belong to us.
We have your wallet addresses that you deployed. Anyone that deployed and incurred this massive cost, we're going to be taking care of you. So please be patient, and something coming next week.
Yeah, and I think just while we're on that topic, I really want to thank all the people that hopped on and were trying out this kicking the tires really early on. I want to say sorry for some of those things like this configuration error. We were bringing a pretty complicated system online, and some things just didn't go exactly as planned. But thank you for hopping on, and we will, of course, want to thank you in more ways than just me saying it. And so I look forward to working with you in the future.
Thanks, guys. And again, thank you, Sunny, for joining us. We're going to just do some quick shout outs. So, Sunny, feel free to just to leave now. But if you'd like to have any last words to our community, this would be a great opportunity for you to do that.
No, thank you guys all for listening in. Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited for Akash. We run a validator on Akash, so if you're looking for someone to delegate to, Sikka's always accepting delegations. And just really excited to see what sort of new things people start deploying.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, Sunny.
Thanks so much, guys.
All right.
This was a lot of fun. This is one of my.
We're not there yet. We're almost there. We're almost there, guys. We got some more. We got shout outs and we got prize drawing. So I'll run through this real quick. So wanted to shout out Tom Bainan. I believe he's the first person to host their personal site on our cloud. He also wrote a really great guide for those of you who are interested in deploying your site on Akash. We can share that in the chat in a second. Also wanted to shout out to Crypto Mikhail for giving his audience a really great intro to us on his Cosmos centered video. We'll be sharing that link in the chat as well. Thank you to Crypto Nutrition. He's put together 2 really awesome YouTube reviews. We appreciate all of our followers, regardless of how many followers they have, whether it's 200,000, whether it's 200. And we appreciate all of the community support regardless. And so wanted to thank Crypto Nutrition for 2 great videos. We'll link to Crypto Nutrition in the chat. Thank you so much. If for those of you that like to watch Greg on podcasts, he spoke on Ashton Addison's Crypto Coin Show. You can take a look at that in the link that we're providing below as well. It was a really great podcast. Also, shout out to Thorchain for mentioning us, one of many communities considering migrating the validator node infrastructure to Akash. So thank you so much for the shout out, Thorchain. And lastly, I wanted to shout out all of you guys, the community here. You guys have been incredible. We've experienced some really, really incredible growth. Our Twitter has grown 2x. We grew over 14,000 followers in the last month and a half. Our Telegram grew over 40%. We're now at 14,000. We're one of the largest Telegrams in the whole Cosmos ecosystem, very engaged as well. And so all of this is because of you guys and all the work that you're doing, sharing us with all of your peers. And I just wanted to thank you guys, like personally, because I manage our marketing and community. And it means a lot to me that you guys are sharing us as much as you are, and we wouldn't be growing to this extent without you. So thank you. Now we're going to do a prize drawing. So again, this prize drawing is from our last live stream. So if you want to see if you win this stream's drawing, you're going to have to come to the next stream. So let me go ahead and share my screen real quick, and then we'll get going. Okay, give me 1 second, guys. All right, we got the Wheel of Names. Wheel of Names. First winner is going to win a Kobo Tablet Plus. Let's go. Yabish 95. All right. Next winner is going to win a Ledger Nano X. Ben Osuna, congratulations. And then we have our final winner is going to be winning a pair of AirPod Pros. And let's see who it is.
Looks like Adam. Adam won.
Chen David, congratulations on winning a pair of AirPod Pros. We'll be reaching out to you to make sure that we get all those prizes to you. I just wanted to thank everybody for joining us again. It's been really amazing just going through this journey with you. Now that we've launched Mainnet 2, it feels like the journey is kind of just beginning. And and we are so excited to see how this starts unfolding. Greg and Adam, do you want to share a few final words?
I'm very thankful for the community that we built and community that supports us every day, and it's just really amazing. I mean, really, again, grateful for giving us the opportunity to serve you. And I think like Akash is, a community-driven initiative, and I love the creativity the community has, and I'm really super excited what we have coming in the next few months.
Yeah, it's of course echo that. Really think the community, also really think the team. You guys don't understand. We're a really small team. We're growing as fast as we can, but we have way more work to do than we can do. And just to see this project shape up as well as it has is really just amazing. And of course, the community and all the people that have reached out. And also, I'll say, like, if I have been less responsive than I should be, I apologize. It's been a crazy couple of weeks, so I'm going to be circling back and reaching out to anybody that I haven't followed up with. But so thank you all for reaching out. We'd love to hear from you.
And thank you, Adam, for staying up this late. Adam right now is in Taiwan. So, it's very, very late for him. But yeah. And
like really the course the past couple of weeks to stay up at least past 1. And so, but I am quite tired, and I should probably head to bed.
But he's coming back to stateside to Bay Area, hopefully next few weeks. So, probably see him. And then
can't wait.
Right.
Well, thanks guys for joining us. We'll be back in a couple of weeks again, and I'm sure we'll have a ton of great information to share with you at that point. You know where to find us on Twitter, on Telegram. We'll link in the chat. If you have any suggestions, bring them up. We love connecting with all of you and getting to know all of our users. And that's it for today. So I'll see you guys next time.
Hi guys. Thanks everybody.
Thank you.